It's my personal mission to get 12 international properties in really cool locations. Last year, I decided to buy some land and build a house in the beach town of Cabo Flio, which is located in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We're now in pre-construction planning, and in today's video, I'll be going over why Cabo Frio, the construction plans, and offer a sneak peek of my pilot episode for a Living Globally television show. On this channel, I discuss living globally along with business hacks in real estate and healthcare, showing you a path so you can do the same. I want you to be able to go out there and live your dreams. If this is content you want more of, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn your notification bell on so you don't miss a thing. My name is Carl Pierre, and this is ENTP Life. The first time I went to Brazil, I fell in love with the country. The language, the people, and the landscape are really something special. It's not so often that I have this immediate connection with the place I visit, but for some reason, Rio made me feel like I just belonged. The first time that I visited Brazil, my first stop was in Sao Paulo. Now, Sao Paulo is the biggest city in all of Brazil, and it really reminded me a lot of like New York City. It has a little more hustle, a little more bustle. It's a little more kind of cold as far as the city is concerned, and it wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't until I arrived in Rio de Janeiro, which is a beach town that, if you are familiar with the United States and have been down to Miami, it kind of has more of a Miami feel. It's a large city right on the coast, and there's an immense beach culture there. The main difference between Miami and Rio de Janeiro, in my opinion, is the landscape is completely different. We're talking about mountains that seem to just jet up right out of the ocean, jungle. It's just something completely different that I haven't seen in many other world cities. It's probably one of the most beautiful cities as far as I'm concerned. I haven't seen anything else like it. And when I first got there, I immediately felt something that was different and special. I've always lived by the coast. Being in New York City, you're surrounded by water. Now in Fort Lauderdale, the same sort of thing. So having that familiar feeling of having the ocean right there and also a high energy city made me say, wow, this place is something different. Now, when it comes to Brazil in general, culturally, it's quite different than the United States, and it's actually quite different than the rest of Latin America. Those differences make it feel quite like a unique place that I've never been to. And it's that difference that makes it really exciting. After that first visit, I knew for sure I wanted to have Brazilian property in my portfolio. So I returned a few times and visited different areas looking for the right opportunity. So when looking at different places to potentially buy and have a home in Brazil, I started to look at areas outside of that main Copacabana region because I wanted to make sure that I had something that would have the potential of earning money as a vacation rental. Since I live outside of Brazil the majority of the time, I knew that I want to have some sort of income coming in from my properties, but also the flexibility to travel there whenever I want to. One of the most popular areas to visit outside of the Copacabana region is a town called Búzios. Now, Búzios is kind of like the Beverly Hills or like the Hamptons of Rio de Janeiro. It's where the wealthy people might have a beach house or a summer home, and they go there virtually every weekend. It also gets frequented by a bunch of Argentinians for some reason, but the town itself is beautiful. It's right on the beach. It's like a peninsula that sticks out of the edge there, so it's surrounded by water on three sides. Really gorgeous place. But when I started looking at the cost of real estate compared to the potential to rent it on Airbnb, the numbers just weren't there. Another tourist location in and around Rio de Janeiro is Ilha Grande. It's a collection of islands right south of the Copacabana region, and it's about 2 hours away, but it's beautiful. It has waterfalls, a bunch of different beaches. It's a place where the Brazilians like to visit as well. But again, Ilha Grande didn't seem to have the right mix of revenue compared to the cost of real estate. And also, since it's a series of islands, it's kind of difficult to get to, and I didn't think that it would be where a lot of American tourists would go, and it's really the American tourists and the European tourists that I expect to generate revenue from. Another tourist town that a lot of the people or the cariocas from Rio de Janeiro go to is Cabo Frio. It's kind of like a smaller city, similar to Copacabana, but it has more of a beach vibe. Think about the difference between a town like Miami and the beaches of West Palm Beach. That's kind of the difference, where Miami is obviously more dense, more people, more action, more tourism, but Palm Beach is on the same sort of coast, and other people may choose a vacation there because they want to get away from that hustle and bustle of the main tourist town. In order for me to invest in real estate in another country, I either really need to see some value in that potential investment or not even care at all about the price so that I feel comfortable making the purchase without really looking for a return on investment. I also considered other neighborhoods in the Copacabana region. This main region, or the Zona Azul, which is the southern zone, consists of Copacabana, Ipanema, Leblon, and probably Baja Desjuka. Those are the towns that people are going to be most familiar with and actually see as the main Rio de Janeiro that is advertised as like a tourist location. And the difference with these areas is that they're in the heart of the Rio de Janeiro city. The real estate is more expensive. There's also plenty of tourists, but I didn't feel that I wanted to be in that area just yet. For example, Copacabana is a little bit older, the construction is a little older, there's a little bit of crime there just because there's a lot of tourists, and it just isn't as nice as some of the other beach towns outside of the main city. Ipanema, on the other hand, is a little more modern, nicer feel. It's probably where I would end up settling up, or Leblon. Leblon probably has some of the most expensive real estate in all of South America. And these are three towns that are right next to each other. They share the same coastline, but the vibe tends to change from town to town. A little further south is Baja Desjuka, which was built up in the past 30 years. It actually used to be uninhabited swampland that has now become more modern condominium living for families. So that area actually has nicer beaches, newer, nicer buildings, and also more family oriented and away from the tourist zone. So the prices are a little bit better, the lifestyle is a little bit better, and those were also on the list for potential places to live. Now, if you get a little further away from like this southern zone where things are a little more luxurious, you have towns like Santa Teresa and Lapa, which have like an old world feel or old charm to them, that I ended up deciding that I might buy something there if the opportunity presents itself. But right now, I don't know if the time is just right, but they have some really nice ancient, or I guess older architecture that dates back to the 1800s that I would love to restore. I still might pick up a property in the Copacabana area, but that will have to be after I finish this project. As of right now, I need to focus on my project in Cabo Frio. So Cabo Frio is located halfway between Rio de Janeiro and Búzios. What I liked about Cabo Frio is that the population I think is around 500,000. So it has like the foundations of a city, but without the same energy and the same negativity that might come from a big city. It's also right along the beach. The area where I decided to buy is just outside of the main city, and there are only a few more lots that are available. It also has its own little private beach area that's great for surfing. And as all the rest of these land lots sell, I feel like there'll be increasing pressure for demand on these properties because there really aren't that many lots left in this section of Cabo Frio. So for those people who don't want to go all the way out to Búzios, where property is more expensive, and also want to be in a proper city, Cabo Frio made sense, and where I bought my land also made sense strategically. Now, I don't think I'm gonna make a bunch of money off of renting it because I could probably rent out the house for only $90 a night on Airbnb. And it's not like it's Copacabana where the prices of real estate and the prices of hotels and a lot of foreign tourists are gonna be. So it's gonna be cost adjusted for the Brazilian population. I'm working with an architect to design the home. Right now, the property's on a double lot and it's actually shared between me and another owner. So first we were trying to decide on a mutual design that both of us agreed upon. And what I ended up liking was having a property that had two different feels, but that wasn't approved by the city because they want any property that's shared on a double lot to mirror each other. So finally, after some revisions and back and forth, we came up with this model. On my side, it's going to be 2 levels, the second floor with high ceilings so it feels a bit spacious, 3 bedrooms on the top floor, and then a living room, kitchen, and dining area on the lower floor. In the back of the home is like a barbecue pit, which is pretty typical for Brazil. You can't have a house without a barbecue area because that's one of the ways that they usually entertain on the weekends. Now this house is located 1 block from the beach, and this beach is pretty virgin. There's not a lot of tourists on there. And again, there's strong winds and strong current. So if I ever want to surf, that's exactly where I'll be surfing. One of the main reasons I decided to act when I did was because typically the exchange rate between the US dollar and the Brazilian real is 3 reais to $1. At the time that I bought this property, we were knocking right on 6. It was about 5.5 reais to the $1. Right now it's about 4.8 to $1, so I'm in a rush to try to get the construction done, or I might just send my money down to cover the construction budget while the exchange rate is still working in my favor. As the exchange rate improves, I'm gonna get some appreciation there, and at the same time, I feel like I'm getting everything on the cheap. Right now, I think the construction of the home is only gonna run me about $40,000 since the cost of labor is really inexpensive in Brazil. The minimum wage, which is probably what a lot of construction workers get paid, is around 200 to 300 US dollars per month. If we check out my Pinterest page, you can get a few ideas on how it is that we're planning on finishing this property, what sort of finishes we plan on having it, and the overall kind of feel that I'm going for. But of course, this is gonna vary depending on what materials we could use in this house. Since it's by the coast, we need to make sure that we're using materials that are saltwater friendly. Remember, homes that are near the beach corrode in a different way. The fixtures might corrode, the light fixtures, all kinds of things may have to be adjusted to make sure that we're using materials that fit the environment. Now, all I'm waiting for is for the plans to be approved and then we'll break ground. I'll be covering the pros and cons of a project like this, the cost, and of course, the final reveal over the next few months. I'm super excited to get this done. Thanks for joining me here at ENTP Life. Like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone that you think will find it helpful. If you know somebody who's looking to relocate to Brazil, this might be the video for them. Here's a sneak peek of my private episode covering the magic of Rio de Janeiro.